see what you're capable of.
Hmm.
And I realized in life, we do the same thing. Most of us regret not having done enough. It's not that we regret making mistakes, it's that at the end, we regret not having tried.
I actually kind of noticed. So you said like when you used to play Tristana and you don't jump in, there was
Hmm.
actually a point in time. I remember like 10 years ago, where
Hmm.
you also kind of had that issue, and
Yeah,
then you eventually were like, oh, I realized that I've been playing too cautiously. I should take more risks.
right. And video games are a great tool to learn. Like even Hearthstone and card games had this thing of like, use your life as a resource, your life total, right? And in League, like I realized Lee got much better than me. One, he played a lot more, but two, he also took risks. So I used to think of myself as superior to Lee because I knew the names of items and I knew all this knowledge and technical stuff. But the reality is he didn't need to know the names of items to shit on people in lane. Like he went in, he towered over, he died, he learned. He wasn't afraid of making mistakes. Have you heard of Jim Quick? Actually, I just came across a short from him.
Jim Quick. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the Asian guy.
Asian guy. Yeah, I think he's Indonesian or Malaysian, one of them. But yeah, check out this short from him. It's okay to make mistakes. And now I realize like children understand that, and then we teach them shame and guilt and fear and anxiety. But children aren't born with those emotions. They make mistakes and they learn.
I think it's due to our conditioning from
Yeah,
our
it's
parents,
yeah,
from
for
when we were
sure.
kids. Because for them, mistakes were much more costly.
Right.
So I think with your parents, right, they're also immigrants. So for them,
They're
making a
immigrants.
mistake means, um, the death of their kids, and they can't afford to make that mistake, right? They basically have to ensure that they survive.
But the thing is, there's death by a thousand cuts because all the mistakes they made by not learning financial literacy, not learning to invest, not learning to take risks, not learning to start their own business early on. Like I realized one of the riskiest things you can do is to stay employed by somebody else for 20 plus years. It just because you're taking the biggest risk of not finding out who you are.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. That's also why I wanted to jump into entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
I knew I had this problem of, I don't know if you notice it, but I don't like to talk to people.
Hmm.
And hopping on like a video call with a stranger
Hmm.
back then would terrify me. Still terrifies
Right.
still terrifies me.
Yeah.
I still get anxiety. But
Yeah.
I
I
knew
can
that,
relate.
sorry, go ahead.
I can relate. That's all I said.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to get into entrepreneurship, because I
Hmm.
knew I had to, in order to get clients and do business, I had to confront that fear. So it forced
Hmm.
me to face that fear.
Hmm.
And even now, just like talking to you, right? Um, 5 minutes ago, I actually sent you that message, but then I actually deleted it because I wasn't sure whether or not the timing was like good for you. So
I'm the same way. So I started thinking, am I interrupting someone? Am I stopping them from sleeping? Am I getting in their way? So like I'll second guess myself a lot. But I realized this is something I learned about ADHD as well, is that ADHD can actually be a superpower. And some of the most productive people in our generation have ADHD. But the thing is like ADHD can give you a whole bunch of energy, drive, capability. It can also give you a lot of anxiety and depression if you're not productive, if you're overthinking, if you're too scared, if you're like, because my mind thinks through like hundreds of possibilities before I do something, most of them subconsciously, and then some of them come up to consciousness. And I've realized that, like my dad looks at me and he's like, wow, it must be tiring to be in your head. And I'm like, it's not tiring for me. I do it every day. I'm used to it. But from his perspective, it's tiring.
yeah, definitely. Hold on, give me 1 second.
No worries.
I do think that we have to be careful with uh, the whole ADHD thing, because I
Mental health
do.
diagnoses in general. Yeah.
There are moments. No, no. There are moments where. Sorry, can you say something?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Right audio source for you in headphones. Yeah.
No.
So
Well,
in
Discord,
Discord,
you can change it.
there's a moment where I did have the ADHD energy,
Mhm.
and the problem was that I would actually burn myself out because I don't know. Because I have all this energy, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with it? I start doing a bunch of
direction.
random. Huh?
Yeah, you need direction. You need some way to channel the energy,
Yeah.
which is
What, like, I feel like with the podcast, I found that because now, here's the thing, I feel like every failure gets me closer to success. So whenever I fail, it doesn't actually feel bad. I actually feel good because I'm failing forward, you know?
Mm.
Like my whole definition of the world has changed. And I only realize how different it is when I talk to people like M0, the 17-year-old, right? Who you wanted to analyze. I look back at people and I look back at myself and I realize, wow, I used to be like that. Like in high school, I don't know if you remember this, but I used to say like, I don't plan to live past age 30 or something.
Really?
Yeah, I used to believe.
I think I recall you saying that.
Yeah, or I used to believe that the world would be a better place if I was dead, or that if human beings were dead. I had like very anti-human environmentalist views. And then over time, I changed and realized, no, the world is here for people and people can maintain the world. You know, it's a symbiotic relationship. It's just a resource. If we go to Mars, then Mars is also a second planet. You know, we shouldn't kill ourselves for the planet. That doesn't make any sense. But of course, we shouldn't kill the planet if it's killing us, right? So
what made you change your perspective from back then to now?
I don't think it's anything. It's too gradual to say. I don't think there was any tipping point. I think it's a whole bunch of little opinions changing. Like one, I realized that I will never want to be in a win-lose industry or a zero-sum industry. And I used to meet coworkers who told me, no, the whole world is dog eat dog. Meaning, if you don't take advantage of someone, someone else will take advantage of them and someone will take advantage of you. And I realized so many people grow up with that pessimism, that cynicism. Whereas now I realize YouTube, marketing, like almost every industry, if you find the right group, the right cohort, the right field, it's win-win. Meaning the more you collaborate with other people and help them, the more you're helping yourself and the industry grow.
Yeah. I would say it's a changing of the culture. So like things used to be like that. I can tell you that. Back in my...
They used to be...
Yeah. Like the dog eat dog, where like you have to be predatory to people instead of treating them as equals, working alongside them. But that's changing now, like you said.
That's good. And I think Seth Godin has written about this. He said we're moving from the industrial economy age to the connection age, the information age and then the connection age. And in the connection age, it's all about networks. It's all about mutual connection. And I realized the podcast is basically that. I'm connecting people all the time. I'm connecting it with them. I'm connecting nodes between them so that they get mutual win-wins. Whereas the industrial economy is more like, if you come to my factory and take some of my products, I'm missing out because it's physical goods. But now it's more like intangibles. It's software. It's stuff that scales. It's ideas. An idea, when it gets shared, it actually gets stronger, not weaker. Because people build upon it. They innovate. Who was that in the background?
Oh, that's my dad. Just my family's back home, so just never mind though.
Nice.
Yeah.
They're back home from where?
Dinner. They like went out for dinner, I think.
Man, I still remember when we lived next to each other, Westminster Highway, 313-8511.
Yeah.
And you were like right next door.
I still live in the same place.
You still, wow, you're still at 313,
Yeah.
right next to it. Near the, what is it? There's a Pizza Hut.
There's
something else. There's a
Pizza
gas
Hut,
station.
There's a gas station. There's the mall, Lansdowne Mall.
Yeah.
There's the Chinese like supermarket.
Yeah.
There's like the old people's home, like down there.
Oh yeah, I remember the old people's home was like right next to you or something.
Yeah.
Man, so many stories I have. Like, but yeah, how is it living with family? Because I just moved in with my brother and his wife 2 months ago, and I realized now what living, like the value of living with family. Because I was living with my dad and it was very different. It was a much smaller place, but he had a very pessimistic attitude. Anytime I tried to help him with his business, he would go like, "Nah, it's too risky. I don't want to do that." His thing was, okay, you make $10 million and then give me $1 million.
Yeah.
I'm like, I realized that the thing is, like, money is not going to make him happy alone. He also, like any man or any person really, he wants to feel useful, valued, relied upon. He wants to do good work, but his company doesn't appreciate him. So, but yeah, for me, moving out was great because now I can realize I can live my own philosophy. I didn't realize how freeing it was until I moved out. But it's a big deal, yeah. But for you, it looks like you have a good relationship with your family. You figured out you're symbiotic. Because in many cultures, staying with your family is also a way to support them, right? You have 3 generations in one household kind of thing. Indian families do that too, usually.
Supposedly.
But my parents divorced.
I know. Yeah. I know in Eastern cultures, staying with your family is normal, whereas in Western cultures, they want to kick you out as soon as possible for some reason, which I think is stupid. Because like, well, if you
They have the nuclear family thing.
Oh, what's that?
But the nuclear family, I think it's just like husband, wife, kids. That's it. Meaning you don't have your parents staying with you.
Oh yeah.
So I think the idea, it's basically nuclear versus joint family. Joint families, you have your grandparents staying with you, you have your parents and your kids in one house. I think they both have merits. But yeah, I think part of the Western culture is you need to go learn to be independent, build your own, get your freedom, get your independence. It's very much a freedom culture, right? Like democracy, freedom, America.
Yeah.
It's all about individual liberty. And how can you have individual liberty if your parents are there watching you all the time, right? Like, what if you want to bring a girl home for a one night stand? What do you do when you're living with your parents? It's going to be awkward.
You don't.
You don't,
You
but
do it somewhere else.
yeah, love hotel, whatever Japan has. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's why the American culture developed the way it did. Like they gained independence from the British, right? They were like against tyranny. And a lot of parents are tyrants, whether they realize it or not. They impose certain unspoken rules and laws. So I think the sooner you start living on your own, the sooner you start deciding your own rules and start to question the unquestioned rules of your parents. Like you're like, hey, should I use the dishwasher as a drying rack, like most Asian households, or should I actually start turning it on and use it to wash? And then you try it and you're like, whoa, it's actually good for washing. Who knew? And then you transcend your parents in that way.
Since we're on that topic, do you believe that, suppose you realize that your parents' ways of thinking and beliefs are kind of toxic, let's say you now have moved out, would you, knowing the freedom that you have now, living with your brother, would you ever go back to interacting with them and allowing their beliefs to affect your life?
So I'm already interacting with my dad and mom, but it's in a much more healthy way where I draw clear, assertive boundaries, right? Like I will tell them, here, I can show you an example from a conversation with my dad on WhatsApp. It was here, Chinese kitchen. Because we used to live above a Chinese kitchen restaurant in Sharjah.
Interesting.
So yeah, he says, hello, sons. I hope you know that your mom Sudha is due for eye surgery on Thursday, the 4th of May. Exact timing will be only 1 week ahead. More details like doctor. So he basically wrote some passive-aggressive messages. I've messaged her to let her know that if she wants me, this is me. I'll find a way to be there. We'll see what she says. And then I pasted a message. My mom said, thank you, Vamsi. That's sweet of you. This time I requested Papa to be there. He agreed. Next time I could use your guys' support for the left eye. So she's getting eye surgery, basically.
Oh, your mom.
So I said, Mommy wants me there for the left eye. He said, what about the right one? Current one, I think. But it's like he didn't read my message. But anyway, so you guys equal sons. I'm merely an expired ex-husband to be dependent on for extreme emergencies. Smiley face.
Low self-esteem.
You, the sons, need to throw yourselves into this opportunity to be of service to your mom, just in my opinion.
Pushing his responsibilities onto you?
Yep. And I said, well, it's not necessarily his responsibility, right? But you'll see what I say. So are you asking us to replace you? Decide what you want. I'll work with that. He said, you figure it out, son of the soil. Call her and ask her whose support she needs, expects. But me messaging her is basically the same.
Oh.
Anyway. So I wrote, I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, nor are you in it to live up to mine. If helping mommy adds fulfillment and meaning to your life because you derive that from being relied upon, then do it. If it's a burden and a sacrifice for you because you're playing the role of ex-husband who doesn't view mommy as family, or because you feel familial pressure from your siblings to not be taken advantage of by mommy, then stop helping her. Don't frame it as what we should do in your opinion. Just do what is best for yourself and I will adapt around it. Thanks for expressing your concern for Sudha and advocating for her interests. I will negotiate that arrangement with her. How much you sacrifice is completely in your control. Those are my final thoughts on the matter. You guys talk to her, offer your unstinting support and figure it out. I'm always there, the get out of jail free card. Cool, your thoughts noted. Now stop and assist your mom when she needs you. It's not about me. The thing is, he made it about him when he sent this message anyway.
Yeah, basically.
But I've realized this is what my dad does, right? So he wants to feel selfless while being self-centered, if that makes sense. So he wants to make it about my mother, but then as soon as I told him already what my mom thought, he's still going on because it's really about him.
Yeah.
But I realized that, which is why I wrote this message and I muted the chat.
Interesting.
Right? That night. And then I just stopped, yeah.
So
I didn't engage.
When did this happen? The messages?
4/20/2023. So
4/20.
7 days ago.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah. 4/20 blaze it.
Yeah. 4/20. Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do know some adults, I won't say who they are, but they also have similar behavior to what you just showed me. And on one hand, it's like, okay, we know that you have it's almost like, do we believe that this person can drop such toxic beliefs about themselves and about others? Because example with like your father's messages, right? Um, he views the world in a certain way. He views himself in a certain way. So it's like, do you enjoy interacting with that kind of energy, or how do you handle it?
No, so I look at it as potentially narcissism, but I'm still studying it. I also look at it as like, I don't blame my dad, right? Because he grew up the way he did. He has his culture and status. And I know he gets on the phone with his brothers in India and they tell him, why are you helping your ex-wife? You're being taken advantage of. You're such a pussy or whatever, right? Like they won't say these words, but that's what it means. By the way, my childhood friend Mohammed, he's messaging me. He wants to play RuneScape. He came home early. So you can join that chat if you want. I'll go into the Discord. But yeah, he's actually the one who made my account name, Rockfields20. We were like 8 years old or something. We used to play RuneScape together. He lived right underneath me. So his apartment in Sharjah had the same layout as mine because they were identical units above and below. But yeah, I'll go chat with him. And it was good catching up with you. I mean,
Yeah.
looking back, I think you were one of the few people in our friend group who was brave enough to not get a standard job or like to quit it or to not just go to university. Did you go to university?
I did, but then I dropped out.
You dropped out, yeah.
Before I
and yeah,
before,
and I just didn't go at all. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I thought that you were the one who was brave, because you were the one who never even got a job. Well, I don't want to say you, but you were the one who never got a job. You were the one who never got any kind of formal education after high school. You didn't even show up for the graduation. That took balls.
Yeah.
So
I didn't even show up for prom. I played League of Legends instead of showing up for prom or whatever, the dance.
yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're not here for graduation, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not that I was brave or took balls. It wasn't important to me. I didn't see the reason for it, right? Like I didn't understand the ceremony, the status, the thing.
And I didn't understand your mindset back then, because I was conditioned by my parents to always show
Value
up, to
those
listen to them. Yeah. But then now I understand why you did that.
Right.
So back then.
But I didn't understand it when I did it. It was just intuition, right?
Huh.
Like,
Interesting.
I was just like, hey, I'll do the thing I like. Like I wrote NaNoWriMo novel or whatever after I graduated high school. I was just writing 1,700 words a day for a month, right? National Novel Writing Month. And then in a month, I had 50,000 words. I had a novel. And I realized, wow, like I can do stuff. I just have to work on it every day. I can accomplish things. And the novel was terrible. I wrote my first sex scene. Dude, I still haven't had sex, by the way. I'm still a virgin. Maybe that's why I'm so interested in interviewing married couples and stuff to figure out.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You just have to last 3 more years, and then you'll attain mystical sage powers. That's what they say.
Yeah, age 30 being a virgin.
Yeah, something
Nice.
like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to hold you up if you want to go.
Yeah.
And play.
Yeah, let's do that. He said he's free for the next hour or so, so
Okay.
I'll invite him to the Discord. And then, yeah, I'll be in there if you want to join. I'll make a voice channel. But yeah, it was really nice talking with you. I'll
Yeah.
see you around.
See you around as well. Hope you're doing well, and talk to you in the future.
Oh, yeah, I want to tell you about my first client that I just got paid today, actually.
Nice.
I made a YouTube short for them. And I want to ask, what is your, like, since you went freelancing, I haven't heard anything. I don't know how you did, right? You were becoming a copywriter and stuff. I don't know what. Are you still doing copywriting or more other marketing stuff or what? I don't know. So we'll find out.
Yeah.
I think you were working with that specific guy you showed me, the Asian guy.
Which one?
I don't remember. There was some guy. When we met at the mall with Matthew and stuff. Was it Lansdowne Mall we met at or something? Anyway.
Anyway.
I've actually been meaning to organize a hangout with like some of the old friends who, like Alan. You knew Alan better than me. Like Alan, Melvin, you, Austin. That was a whole group. Kind of.
I only really knew
And-
Alan. The rest, I didn't really talk to them that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then Melvin knew Austin more probably. Oh, he said 5-ish min. Okay. Well, I guess we have 5 minutes. It's so funny because he was spamming me. I even came sooner and you're already in bed. Tell me you're up. SPAM spam.
Oh
Anyway.
yeah. So, what's it like living with your brother and his wife, like compared to, I don't know, versus your parents? Does he like impose anything on you? Is it like
Yeah, there are some rules, but I also realize anytime I push back on the rule, he's open to letting me figure it out. You know, like it's hard to like he just sets boundaries and rules and ideas, then he explains them if I push back. And then if I explain, give him a counter reason, then he lets me do what I have to.
so he's open to like communication, basically?
Not just communication, but like I don't think he doesn't put too much effort into like fighting me.
Interesting.
It doesn't make sense, right?
Oh, that's
Like,
different.
of course, for example, I don't keep liquids in here because there's carpet except for water. I have that in a water bottle. So I don't bring food up here, even though I'd like to. So I've asked him, like, can I buy some mats and put them down? You know, something, waterproof mats or whatever. But yeah, there's lots of different things. I mean, this place is much better. It's a townhouse, more space. I have my own room for the first time in 2.5 years. That's a big deal because I can do my podcast. I have some privacy. Because living with my dad, that was bad for me and him because it's 400 square feet with no walls. So it's just a studio basement, like the kitchen, the bedroom, my bed, the computer. They're all like 4 corners.
Interesting.
And then there's a bathroom and a closet, and that's it. Like,
yeah, privacy is pretty important.
I agree, especially for like adult men. Because think about it, when does he jack off? Like he just has to go do it in the shower or the bathroom. Like,
Why are we talking? Anyway.
yeah, because it's relevant. But also, I'm practicing being a stand-up comedian, and I've realized something comedians do really well. They're also really good philosophers. They have a responsibility to speak recklessly. So they'll say things that make people uncomfortable, but they'll do it in ways that also make them laugh, and then make them actually think about it.
Interesting.
So I think comedy is definitely in my future in some way.
Yeah.
I'll integrate it.
I know a lot of spiritual teachers. They're also quite adept in comedy as well.
And I think that's because when you amuse somebody, they learn more quickly too. And also, I think you just become less egotistical. You become more light-spirited, and you don't take yourself too seriously. You can just have fun. You're more like a child, right? You have this playfulness. I've noticed with a lot of enlightened people, spiritual masters from various disciplines, Indian, Chinese, like they are less inhibited. They're not worried about what they look like. If they want to dance, they'll dance. They're not going to worry about who's looking or who's not looking,
Interesting.
They'll just do stuff.
Something I'm still...
They'll love.
Yeah. Something I'm still working on, I'd say. I used to not care that much, and then all of a sudden I started caring more.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it's just conditioning.
Have you seen Jia Zhang's rejection therapy thing?
I have not. Hold on.
But like, I went out to get my driver's license renewed, and I spent 6 hours outdoors, and I talked with some people. I made a new friend. And I realized in the first hour or two, I was very nervous filming. I was very nervous talking to people. And then by hour 4 or 5, I was like dealing with rejection like a champ. I was just talking to people. I was ready to be rejected and so on. So I think it's just a continual practice, like exercising a muscle. Just go out there, talk to people, see what happens. Be open to anything.
Yeah. Just basically in spirituality they have that too, which don't attach any sort of... don't form attachments to outcomes. Just do it for the sake of doing it.
Right, exactly. Intrinsic goals. Coach Cupcake said the same thing. Like, he went to Worlds, right? He got to quarterfinals in Worlds or something from New Zealand. And he was saying something like, he never had a goal to get to quarterfinals at Worlds or anything. He had intrinsic goals. Like, his goals were not hit challenger, hit master. Goals that I had were extrinsic. He said his intrinsic goals were more like, learn to enjoy each game, learn to be in the moment, learn to feel that effortless mastery, right? Like wu-wei in Chinese philosophy, similar to flow state, or that de or de or whatever it is, right? In the Chinese philosophy, which is when you are engaging in that flow, effortless mastery, you exude this kind of charisma that other people can feel, where you're completely focused on the task and you're just executing. You're not overthinking, you're not worrying about it. You're just doing and being your best.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think introverts especially are more intuitive and more tuned in to tapping into that flow state where they're not disturbed. But then, as you know, society has lots of distractions. Extroverts are the ones that are put on a pedestal and basically told that hey, you should be more like this.
You should be like
them. Yeah.
But the weird thing is, I don't know what I am. Omnivert, ambivert. It's so weird because I'm very introverted in that I get drained by social situations. I get drained by going outside. I like being at my computer. In COVID, I think I left the house 10 times in 3 years or less. I was getting groceries delivered. I was doing everything from home. COVID was kind of good for me in that sense. I worked from home. I did everything from home. And most of my social interactions are online. But I do find that I can get into flow state in a conversation with somebody. I get genuinely curious about them. They become the only person in the world, the most important person in the world to me right then. And I think they can sense that. and it becomes like a trusting conversation. We both trust each other. We become vulnerable. It goes deeper and deeper. And I've just never experienced anything as fulfilling as that, which is why I want to make it my life's work.
I think
Those conversations.
if you prefer one-on-one conversations or like small conversations,
I do prefer one-on-one. It's harder with way more people.
then probably introvert spectrum, because
Yeah.
extroverts they don't like to form deep connections. They just like to meet you on a very general basis and have lots of people that they
Right.
don't really know very deeply.
And the thing is, I know lots of people, but I also remember details about them years later, about their pets' names, their, like something they told me about their wife or how they think, or like so deep, intimate connection details. Like I remember stuff about them that probably their spouse forgets, you know, but their spouse has to think about a lot of other things. So fair enough, you know, but so I think I form deep connections with a lot of people just because I'm so curious about people.
Interesting.
And I think I'm similar to you because you asked me a lot of questions. You interviewed me more than I interviewed you right now. And a lot of those questions were like, you've always been curious. Like you asked me like, hey, can I ask you about your dad? Because he left you, or like he divorced your mom, or you grew up without a dad. What was that like? So I think you have a similar impulse as me, which is you want to know personal things about people to understand yourself better and your life and how you should live life. You're basically a seeker of wisdom.
Basically, yeah. It's just that the difference, I guess, is you will actually talk to the person, whereas I prefer not to expend that energy. I prefer to just kind of analyze them from a distance and then get all the
Sure.
information I need. I don't know if that's a bad
So you're
thing.
more of an observer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That works for me. Like, I think the thing is, like, I gain energy from, I mean, it drains me. Like, I did 2 interviews one day and I was super drained. I did an 8-hour interview one day. I was super drained. But it feels like a good kind of drained. Like, this is what I was born to do. Now I can go to bed tired but fulfilled. And I can wake up the next morning energized and do it again.
Interesting.
Whereas I think for you, maybe your energy needs to be spent a different way. Like, something else makes you feel fulfilled at the end of the day. Like, what's the thing that could tire you out completely, but you know it was well worth it at the end of the day?
Probably building like my own world. Like if I was,
Yeah.
I've had dreams of like moving into like the wilderness, like away from the city, away from like all the governments, and just living off the grid. It's like creating my own water system, creating my own electricity system, planting trees so I can have food and not be reliant on like anyone else but my
So
own.
self-reliance homesteading. I have a friend south of South Bend in Illinois. I'm going to visit him when I travel to the US. He's doing it with his wife.
Oh,
He's trying to become completely self-reliant because he doesn't trust the government. He doesn't trust the economy. He doesn't trust the system because he knows how it can break at any point. Like supply chains were sorely damaged during COVID.
Yeah,
Stuff has inflated over 85% or something since COVID. It's crazy.
yeah, definitely.
Food, eggs, groceries. So yeah, I respect that. My dad wanted to retire like that. He wanted some goats and chickens and his own little homestead. So if you want to do that, yeah, you can do that very well. I still need to learn to drive if I want to do something like that, but
Oh, why do you need a car? Like, do you specifically need a car, or?
no, it's just I think the skill of driving. Because imagine you're living in a remote area, you probably need to drive a pickup truck to go pick up groceries for a month or something.
Oh,
Because you need to build up your self-sufficiency, right? You won't start off with everything there. You'll need to bring in materials if you want to build your own water system, or you'll need to chop trees there.
I see.
There's ways to do it though. How much have you looked into it, homesteading?
It's just an idea for now. The biggest
Yeah.
thing holding me back is probably like the cost of land, because I need a place, right?
So, yeah.
Unless you just randomly claim a place in the wilderness and be like, "This is mine now."
I think Alaska ended the Homestead Act. I think BC will give you land if you develop it a certain way. There's a program my dad knows about that he's Googled. But it's not easy, right? It's never going to be easy. And I don't think, do you need land in BC or could you do it in the US or somewhere else or somewhere more remote? Because there are places where you can get acres and acres for like under 100 grand.
Oh, interesting. I haven't looked into it too much. But yeah,
I mean, I just know that offhand. Yeah.
a dream of mine sometime in the future. Just something to do for fun, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was just chatting with Hollyander today. He's in New Hampshire near Boston. He's been a floor like a contractor for over 20 years. He did the floors for Harvard, the university, their medical center. And basically, he has some land, and he said, yeah, it was like 120K or something. It wasn't that much to buy the house and the land. So I can tell Vancouver is way inflated on real estate for sure. So it's not the best place to buy.
Yeah.
But if you go out far enough in BC or Alberta, you can figure it out. But you will need to do some thinking about like what weather you want and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm gonna go into Discord now.
Okay.
I'll see you.
Yeah. See you around,
Alright.
mate.
See you. All right.